Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chambers located at 429 C Street. This is the February 4th meeting. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. If you can please stand for the invocation given by Joe Kootenai and remain standing for the flag salute.
Let us pray. Living God, we thank you. We thank you for being a living God, a loving God, an all-knowing God. We would ask you would watch over this meeting today with our leadership from the city. Be with them, give them wisdom, give them discernment that only comes from you, Father. We love you and we thank you for loving us. Again, we give you praise. In your Son's holy name we all pray. Amen. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Brewster.
Here.
Councilmember Lyons.
Here.
Councilmember Cruz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gornick.
Here.
And Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Thank you.
Break. Agenda approval, additions and or deletions.
We have no changes.
Thank you. We'll go on to study session, item 1-1, golf course annual report. Mr. Bocci. Got it right that time.
It gets butchered, don't worry. Mayor and council, my name is Dan Bocci with Sierra Golf Management. We're the people who lease your golf course. The city-owned Lemoore Municipal Golf Course since July of 2021. And tonight's the night for the annual report. You might recognize, did everybody get the handout? Information for you that you can take with you. In a nutshell, if we look back at the last three years of rounds, in 2022, we were at 33,950. In 2023, 33, a slight dip, and then in 2024, an increase up to 36,977 rounds played at the golf course for a 12% increase year over year. The next section, you'll see the breakdown of the rounds. General daily fee rounds were 15,321, or 41% of the rounds were general or daily fee. If you go down to online bookings, those would probably be part of that general round as well. They just happen to be, we separate them out. That means they were booked online through an online booking agent. So about half of the rounds that are played are general daily fee rounds. 22% of the rounds were either senior or military. So almost a quarter of the rounds that are played on the golf course are senior citizens or military. 17%, almost 18% of the rounds come from member play, what we call member. That's somebody who has a frequent player program. They pre-buy and pay either annually or monthly. Those are mainly your regular players. There are a lot of seniors. They get a lot of the Monday to Thursday rounds will be in there. So about almost 18% of the rounds are frequent player or monthly pass holder rounds. And then the last one are the junior and school teams, 2,562 rounds, or 6.9%. So 36,000 rounds a year, almost 37,000 rounds a year is pretty good. Our goal is to hit 40. 40 is a really good number. You get less than 30 and you're in trouble. So we're where we need to be, but 40 is a really good goal to shoot for in rounds for a year. The breakdown of the revenues are below that. And the increase from 23 to 24. Green fees went up 14.3%. Cart fees 12.7%. Driving range 8.4%. Food and beverage 17.8%. And my managers wanted me to tell you how great their food is and that they're winning awards and that everybody should come down to the cafe at the golf course because it's the best place in town to eat. So I told them I'd give them that plug. But they have had a significant increase in food and beverage at the golf course. We hired a new manager and we've made a few improvements and a nice little menu in there. And we're getting a lot of people just coming down for lunch, non-golfers just coming to the golf course just to have lunch, maybe hit a bucket of balls, but just coming in to have a food or a beer. Merchandise up 6.4%. And then membership and frequent player programs up 19.8%, which is a pretty good number. That means your local, those are mainly local people that are buying these membership and frequent player programs. As you can see, there's our competitors. This is the latest rate comparisons as of last week, what we're charging, and then what our competitors are charging for the same. Not all of the plans are exactly the same, but if they have a senior rate or a military rate or a weekday versus weekend, some senior programs don't allow play on weekends. So there's a comparison, and if you look, we're right in concert with what everybody else is charging. We're well below Ridge Creek, which is the most expensive, but we're ahead of Madera and Riverside, which are a little bit cheaper. The next page shows our monthly pass and frequent player programs. This is what the options that are available to people to purchase if they would like to play multiple days instead of just coming out and paying when they play. They prepay, and there's plenty of options for them. If they want to pay Monday to Thursday and leave the weekends alone, they can get it down to as low as $139.95 a month for unlimited green fees, which is a pretty good deal. That page is all of the monthly player programs. Last page shows what we've done since last meeting. Last time I was here, there was a lot of talk about the senior center netting and the golf balls that are going to the senior center. We purchased the netting, and tomorrow, the city staff, I believe the fire department, is coming out tomorrow to hang the net to protect the senior center. I don't know if weather is going to prohibit that, but it is scheduled for tomorrow to hang the netting and replace the netting in between the first tee and the senior center. Last summer, we slurried the parking lot and restriped it, the entire parking lot, handicap stalls, walkways, and restriped it. In November of last year, we received our new fleet of golf carts. These are E-Z-Go 48-volt lithium carts, and we've received a brand new fleet of 60. We did some work on the irrigation pump station. In the cafe, we replaced the ice machine, we rebuilt the grill, a new fryer, and we replaced the exhaust fan in the hood in the cafe. Irrigation improvements on the back nine and our Lemoore Canal. We did some work on our water source for the canal. There's a private property owner where we have access to the canal, and there was some erosion, and we hired a contractor to go in and repair that concrete weir so we can get our canal water delivered to the golf course. Leagues, promotions, and upcoming events. As of February 1st, we have 15 fundraising tournaments scheduled for this year so far. That number will probably grow. Those are mainly local charities in Lemoore and Hanford. This summer, we'll be initiating the PGA Hope program. There's a link on the page there if you want to look at it. Being Lemoore is such a town that has a lot of military influence, we thought this program would be a good fit for Lemoore. Our head professional is going to go get trained on the teaching of disabled veterans. And it's a national program that's the PGA of America has put out. And he's gonna have his certification by the end of March. And this summer we'll start the PGA Hope program, which will provide free access to golf instruction for disabled veterans. And also we're working with the First Tee of Fresno to bring some juniors in Lemoore and Hanford area. Right now, their only option is to go to Fresno to get instruction, junior golf instruction for the First Tee. So we're working with the First Tee of Fresno to open a satellite for the kids that are down here in Lemoore and Hanford area. They don't have to go to Fresno to go to First Tee. With that, I'm available for any questions or comments anyone might have.
Anyone on council have any questions? Mr. Gornick?
Yeah, thanks for the report.
Yes, sir.
So I take it you're fairly satisfied with where you're at with the.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a good few years.
When you say you want to reach 40, what's your capacity out there for? rounds?
There's no such thing as capacity.
Okay.
In terms of round, we measure everything by number of rounds. If you look at, if you're familiar with large municipal courses, like for say, Torrey Pines, if you've heard of Torrey Pines in La Jolla, that's a municipal golf course. And they're upwards in the 70,000 rounds per year range. And that's just going all day, every day. It doesn't stop.
Gotcha.
But you also have the weather in San Diego, which is conducive to that.
Yeah.
If you're looking at a course in back east where they're only open 7-8 months out of the year, their round counts are done. But for the valley where we're open year round, weather permitting, 40,000 is pretty good. If you're doing 50 in this area, you're rocking and rolling.
Well, the only thing that you didn't have here was like the other cities, you had the fees and the carts, but
Their round counts?
yeah, the round count.
I can ask some of them for it. I usually just
That's
troll their information on the internet
Yeah.
and see what they're charging, but
okay.
I know a few of them. I can get some of their round counts
Listen,
next year, maybe.
Don't worry about it. You're too busy.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
get it next one. I'll try and get their rounds
Okay.
too.
The other thing,
I know Lemoore, I know Madera, because that's one of our courses that we operate,
uh-huh.
and it hovers right around the 35,000
Oh, okay.
range.
So, and you may not have this information either, but I was just curious in terms of the senior and military. How many of them do you know are have a membership? Or
So we don't have them broke down because we don't track on the frequent player programs. You don't have to be a certain age to buy the 4-day pass, but most of the people that buy a 4-day are retired. They don't come out on weekends. They're good playing Monday to Thursday. They leave the weekends alone. So a lot of the 4-day pass holders are seniors. More of the 7-day pass holders are maybe working people that'll play more on weekends.
okay. And what other big projects you? I know for the first couple of years you had some big projects out there. What do you got going on now? I mean,
Well, we're still, exploring solar. That could be a big one, but it's going to take collaboration. We
Yeah.
can't do that without the city approval
right.
and you guys signing on the dotted line because it's your property at the end of the
Yeah.
day. But we're still exploring it.
Have you
So-
thought about night golf?
Not really.
At least for
Putting up the lights. We thought about the driving range, lighting the driving range.
Okay.
As you can see, our driving range is up
Oh, that's-
as a lot of these. I don't know if you're familiar with TrackMan and some of the
Target stuff and
Target golf. It's
Yeah.
very popular. And it's expensive, but we lit it up at our course in Stockton at Mickey Grove in Lodi. And we added the TrackMan technology and lights, and You know, it's especially in this area where it's really hot in the summer.
Yeah.
If you can be out there under the lights when the sun goes down, cools off a little bit and hit balls and have the TrackMan technology to where there's video there. So we're looking at that as well.
Okay. The other thing is, there was some discussion at one time, we talked about or maybe there was a discussion, I don't know, but about you using some gray water with one of the growers.
No,
We'd love to have it.
Purple,
Or
you mean
purple?
purple pipe?
Yeah.
Purple one.
We'd love to have it. I know there's it was a farm that, the cannabis farm
Yeah.
had some
Did-
water.
Did that ever come to fruition or nothing?
No, but we'd really love to get it, into the pond on 18, because it's just not, that pond is dry.
Right.
Has been. And if we could get it into there,
Then you could use that to,
maybe then we could get it over to the irrigation pond and use it. Plus, it'd be nice for aesthetics if you look at hole number 14 as well, the left side behind the houses. That was all designed to have water in it,
right?
but if you fill it up, it's just running through.
Yeah.
So for recharge, if anybody needed to recharge, we can recharge for them.
Does Lemoore Canal know about that? I mean,
Yes, they do. Yeah. They like to sell water though.
Yeah, I know, but.
We're
we like to
cheap, we
keep
want it for
water,
free.
too, though. And then, one of the last things was, are tournaments, a moneymaker for you?
Yeah,
Okay,
they for the most part, everybody that shows up for a tournament says, well, we want to do it on a Saturday and we want the best deal because we're a nonprofit. And it's like, well,
We're
I
not.
know.
we're not.
Get money.
Excuse me. But, we try and treat everybody the same and we always donate back. We give back, for their raffles, we give back gift certificates and things like that.
Do you do any advertising in Hanford?
Pardon me?
Do you do any advertising in Hanford?
Not really. Most of our advertising is online, through social media. And we're really not into print advertising, or special advertising. We'll do online deals. And our database, is really growing, not just Lemoore's database, but
Yeah.
Sierra Golf Manager's database. We're up
Yeah.
over 100,000 subscribers right now.
Well, there's a lot of seniors and a lot of veterans over there too.
Yeah. And that's where most of there is no really public golf in Hanford. They either go to Visalia or Lemoore. Those are
Right.
their two options.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions from council?
Yeah, it's, hold on a second. Mr. Bocci, did I say
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yeah.
How often are you personally in Lemoore at the golf course?
Once or twice a month.
Okay. Do you have a card by chance?
A card?
Yeah.
He wants a private lesson.
And then,
Yeah, trust me, golf is not my sport. Golf makes me think of Easter every time I play it.
yeah, and then we have a regional manager who's here weekly as
Right
well.
on.
And then our on-site manager, is Tim. Some of you may have met Tim, out there. He's the day-to-day manager.
Well, I remember when I first got on the council, this was one of the contentious issues, of whether or not we should or shouldn't, and looks like it's worked out pretty good for both of us, so.
Yeah, it's been a good one. And, I think if you ask the customers, generally speaking, I think they're all gonna,
They're voting with their feet, so.
yeah.
Any other questions from council? I have a couple.
Yes.
You had mentioned that you're trying to get your numbers up to 40,000. What are you doing to try to increase that number? Is there steps you're taking? to try to
The
do-
programs that we're doing, a lot of junior programs and online social media is where most of our time is spent. We're very active on Facebook, Instagram. We have drone flyovers now that we're doing. We hired a company called Alpha Nerds, which is basically a social media marketing company. And we're paying them to kind of boost our online presence.
And then on your department revenues from the differences from 23 to 24, is that due to increase of play or increase of fees? Have you increased
Both.
your fees? Okay.
Both.
And then Ridge Creek, where's that located?
Dinuba.
Oh, okay.
How about the high school? Is there still a golf team at the high school?
Yes,
Do they come out? to you
boys
guys?
and girls.
They frequent you guys?
Yeah, they
guessing.
play, that's their home course, Lemoore High School. And I believe we have, I think Riverdale also were their home course. I believe the Hanford schools play at Kings Country Club. So I think we have Lemoore High and Riverdale are the two high schools that play at Lemoore as their home course.
Right on.
Then my last question, as you mentioned, we talked last year about the netting for the senior center. Do you know what the reason is that it's taken a year to get that moving?
Yeah, we were working with the interim city manager at the time. I can't remember his name, and then
Kevin Northcroft.
yeah,
Mhm.
and we finally kind of got him out there, and then he brought the fire department guy out who was the boom truck. Then we ordered the netting, got that in, and just has taken a long time.
Gotcha.
But hopefully tomorrow it goes up smoothly.
Are there any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none, thank you so much for your report. We
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
We have item 1-2. Nope. Where am I at? Yeah, item 1-2, budget. Ms. Valdez.
Good evening, council, staff, and community. As you know, my name is Jocelyn Valdez, and I'm the finance director for the city of Lemoore. I have a brief presentation tonight containing the proposed fiscal 26 operational expenses, as well as a brief overview of where we currently stand with the current budget. This is the first step in our budget process, and in future meetings, we will be bringing back revisions, anticipated personnel costs and revenue projections. If you have brief questions along the way, please feel free to ask as I'm going through the slides. If you have suggested revisions or would like more detailed information on an item, please hold those till the end of the presentation so that I can take notes and bring them back at the next budget workshop. So to start, I'm gonna just briefly go over what are the operating expenditures so everyone knows what we're speaking about. Those accounts are the risk management, legal, utilities, meetings and dues, training, printing of publications, postage, professional service contracts, rentals, our interdepartmental charges, which is our fleet service, equipment, supplies, construction, cost allocation, and our debt service. So first up, I'm going to go over the general fund fiscal review for the current year. And these numbers are the adopted budgeted numbers for fiscal 24-25. The numbers in parentheses represent a negative expenditure that is due to cost allocation. Those departments received a surplus for their services. So they had in general fund a total budget of 4.3 million. On the next slide, it goes over where we project to end the current fiscal year. The budgets in red are expected to go slightly over. The budgets in green are expected to be under budget. Our total expenditures are looking at 4.2 million with a reduction of 102,000 overall. On the next slide, you can see a side-by-side comparison of where we budgeted and where we expect to end, with notation for each department of why they are over or under. Most of the departments are affected by a risk management allocation change this fiscal year, as finance has regained control over certain procedures and allocations and making sure that they are appropriate. We have changed the allocation with the reduction of staff in water, they no longer receive a large portion of that risk management for those costs.
Just to clarify for anybody watching or, number one, you're doing a great job. So city council, $221,000. That's not split by the 5 people up here. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about what that budget, but the budget is there?
What that budget consists of,
Yeah,
it is all of those accounts that I went over in the beginning. So it
Oh.
makes up any
and then roll
supplies.
up into that.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
Okay.
all of the operational accounts
roll
roll
up to
up
the city
into that
council.
number.
Good,
Mhm.
thank you.
So these are the net effects of everything. So to note, there were a lot of increases across the general fund departments due to the risk management allocation change that we made this fiscal year. Let's see there. Okay, so going into the enterprise funds for the current fiscal year, what we budgeted in each fund, water, 11.9 million. Utility billing has a net effect because utility billing is cost allocated out between the 3 enterprise funds. Refuse, sewer, and fleet with a total budget of 24.9 million. On the next slide is where we expect to end. Again, the green, we are under budget. The red, we are slightly over. And most of that has to do with the risk management allocation and a few contracts. So on the next slide is again a side-by-side comparison with notation as to why they are over or under. Water and sewer had multiple CIPs that were not able to be completed this fiscal year, and they will roll into
What's a
next fiscal.
CIP?
A capital improvement plan. Okay, they did have slight increases in risk management as well to some of the areas. So just to break those out, the water fund CIPs, some things we were looking at, the brine hauling is not going to start until the well is brought online. The current starting for that is October of 25. And that runs 725,000 as an estimate at this time. The TTHM project will begin in May. So 2 months in the current fiscal year, 2 months in next fiscal year, expected to be completed in August for 1.6 million. And their risk management is down to no employees in this department. Sewer fund CIPs, the lift station for 9A has had multiple Caltrans delays in this project. It's not slated to start until fiscal 26, and it's a $4 million project at this time. The Headworks bar screening, the previous company is no longer in business, so they've had to go back out to have it researched and redesigned to fit our needs. And that's a $500,000 project. Okay, next we'll get into the general fund next year proposed expenditures per department. And again, just using the red and the green of where we are compared to the current budgeted amounts. The departments that are expected to go slightly over in red, the departments under in green. We are looking at a total budget of 5.4 million, an increase of about just over $1 million, with an explanation on the next slide. Again, most of these have to do with risk management increases across the board. I did just use a rough estimate for a possible increase as expected each year, costs go up. And a few contracts. City Council had an increase in risk management and training. City manager, we added the grant manager, or the Townsend grants contract this year in risk management. City clerk had a significant reduction. There was a lot of contracts they won't need this fiscal year with elections, pollings, and the sales tax having been completed. Finance reduced contracts this year. Community development had a reduction in risk management. Maintenance is currently asking for 2 additional vehicles, but we may be able to move some vehicles around internally and eliminate that cost. So again, it's something we could bring back. The police department had a significant increase, and this is largely due to the addition of the body cams contract. The increases with not having a start date for the dispatch center, we budgeted for the full value of the contract to the city of Hanford and IT, including their increases. And they also have 4 vehicles requested this year. And I'll break that down on the next slide. Dispatch had an increase in risk management. Fire had a reduction. Building inspectors had an increase. Public Works had an increase. Streets asked for an increase in supplies this year to do road maintenance. Recreations had a reduction. Human Resources saw a sizable increase in their risk management. In IT, most of that is their risk management with an 8,000 in supplies and 7,000 in equipment requests. So just as some things to note on that, the risk management allocation has changed and has adjusted each department across the board. Maintenance is requesting the 2 vehicles, but again, we may be able to move some things around internally and cover that. Police had an increase due to the contracts I spoke about, and the 4 vehicles that they're looking at requesting this year is an animal control truck for $164,000, a custom signals radar trailer for $31,000, 2 detective vehicles for $149,000, but it is possible that we could request hybrid vehicles and get the San Joaquin Valley Air Board grant funds to help cover those, and a patrol vehicle upfitted at $95,000. Okay, going into the enterprise funds, the proposed expenditures for next fiscal year. Again, the same, water will be under budget compared to the current fiscal year. Utility billing, slightly raised due to the risk management. Refuse and sewer up, fleet is under. Total budget of $23 million. So again, looking at a side-by-side comparison, water is a reduction of $1.2 million. Some CIPs to roll over into the next fiscal year, SCADA upgrades that have been completed, and TTHM is half of it to be completed this year, half next year. Utility billing had an increase in postage costs and risk management. Refuse, we budgeted for the full dispatch fees for the year. And sewer had a couple of anomalies there. A utility increase of $102,000. They're looking specifically to add an advanced alert cell signals to prevent sewer overflows. So due to the PG&E costs with that, they're looking at higher fees. An increase in risk management, their contracts, and a reduction in treatment plant upgrades that have been completed. So their net effect is $186,000 increase. Fleet has a reduction to outside repairs needed. So that is a reduction of $60,000. Okay, so just some things to note that the water brine hauling will start in fiscal 26 with the well coming online. The utilities, utility billing will have an increase in postage and risk management. And sewer, as I went over the breakdown, their net effect is $186,000 increase. And that is all of our main funds. Do you have any specific questions?
I just want to clarify too, is my mic on?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify for everyone here as well. We did go over this at the last council meeting, but in case you weren't in attendance, what we're doing is reviewing proposed operating expenses first. And then we will review anticipated personnel costs at a future meeting and then plug in projected revenue. So this is just focused on operating expenses for next fiscal year. And you did a great job, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions?
I have a quick question, 2 questions actually. So the risk management, that didn't change at all. It's just a reallocation of the amount, correct?
For this fiscal year.
And then you're basing it off of,
Next year, I did account for an increase,
okay.
a potential increase.
And then for the 2 detective vehicles. Is that including the upfitting in that amount? Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great job.
The only thing I would like to add as we move in this, I appreciate the opportunity to see this information and look forward to the other ones coming up too. But at least in terms of water and sewer and police, particularly with the onboarding of the call center, I'd like to see that. And it looks like with sewer, I mean, if I get any complaints, that's what I get the most complaints about is the leaking and the smelling, and sometimes it's really, really bad. And we got to do something with that.
Any other questions from council?
Good job, Ms. Valdez.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. The public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. Is there any public comment? Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Council. Alex Walker. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Lemoore, I'm proud to share a couple updates on our end. This past couple of weeks, you may have caught on Facebook and Instagram and all the good social medias that we are preparing for our Guatemala trip. The Rotary Club of Lemoore, along with other Rotary clubs in California and across the nation, have traveled to Guatemala in the past to provide services to those in need. Previously, we've delivered wheelchairs for children who do not have them, as well as bring water improvement projects to areas. This year, we're doing things a little bit differently. We'll be traveling to donate school supplies and medicine and vitamins and other supplies of that nature to medical clinics in the area. We spent the previous weekend packing bags with supplies that we've received so far. We're still waiting for the other shipments to come in, and we'll be making a trip later this February. I wanted to publicly thank the previous round of volunteers, which includes Jesus Garcia, our president, Fernando Perez, our incoming president and current vice president, myself, Bruce Mackey from Hanford Rotary, Robert Butts from Hanford Rotary, Noah Payton from the base, as well as Rafael Oliveira from Newman Garcia. Overall, we're really excited to serve the community. And just as a reminder that Rotary is not just here in Lemoore, it is a global organization, and we're incredibly thankful for the opportunity to serve those in need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to ceremonial presentation. Item 2-1, Heritage Park Volleyball Court Restoration. Ms. Trejo.
Thank you. So I wanted to read an email that I received from a community member before we call these individuals up to be recognized. So on December 4th, I received an email that said, "Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natalie and my partner CJ. We are both seniors who attend Lemoore Middle College High School, and we are part of the 12th grade AVID academic elective class. We were presented with a project to give back to our community, and the project we have chosen with your approval is to improve the quality of the volleyball court at Heritage Park. After spending countless hours playing with community members, we have noticed there are holes in the court and that the net is already deteriorating. That being said, we have already received a donation of a brand new net. In order to do this, we planned to reach out to the community to enhance the safety of the playing surface. With your approval, we plan to receive donations of sand or dirt from local construction companies. Secondly, we would like to paint the poles with a restoration coating of paint to prevent future deterioration. And lastly, we would like to put on the brand new net that we've already obtained from a donation. We hope to hear from you soon." So I responded to Natalie and let her know that that was a great idea, and we would welcome them to make the repairs that they were interested in making at the volleyball court. So Natalie is here. I believe CJ is here also. If you guys would like to come up to the podium. Our city clerk has some photos of the work that they did there, and then we have certificates for the mayor to read and present them. So on the screen is a photo of the work that they had done. And so I just wanted to invite them to the council meeting to recognize them. It's not very often that you have two young community members who see an issue in the city and take it upon themselves to work on it to make an improvement. And so I just thought that that was really nice, and I wanted them to be recognized. So we do have items for the mayor to recognize them. And then if you guys would like to speak, you can, but I'm not going to pressure you to if you don't want to.
Would you guys like to speak?
Sure. I just wanted to kind of address why we wanted to help fix the volleyball court. It first came to me and Ally that there's no volleyball, boys volleyball team here, and with me and some other friends, we taught ourselves at the same court, and through our time there, we noticed some of the problems of the area, and to encourage others who come after us, we wanted to make sure the area is safe enough so they can have that opportunity to learn and hopefully make a club for themselves and make a name for Lemoore in volleyball. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Is this intended to be a grass court or a sand court?
Just a mixture of dirt and sand.
Okay, good. Good job.
And I'll read the certificates to Natalie. I hope I don't butcher your name. Cayente?
Yeah.
And CJ Jordell Aurelis?
Yes.
Okay. In recognition of your outstanding dedication and selfless service to the community of Lemoore, your volunteer efforts have made a significant impact, fostering a spirit of kindness, unity, and civic engagement. And I just want to thank you guys for, sorry, go ahead. I just want to thank you guys for seeing a need, doing something about it, making a positive impact. It's hard to get adults to do that sometimes. So seeing young people doing that is very encouraging. So I encourage you to stay engaged. If you stay in Lemoore, if your travels take you elsewhere, stay engaged in the community and stay active and keep making a difference.
Can I say
We
one
got a
thing?
picture.
I'm sorry?
So I just want to say that besides me starting at the dirt court at Heritage, after learning my passion for the sport, I continued it by playing in Fresno, by going there twice a week, while balancing schoolwork and sports, also while traveling the hour there and back. And through my passion, we also are creating the first LHS boys volleyball team club in February, and I just hope you guys keep an open mind to hopefully being more open to kind of establishing a first team here. And if you guys hear anybody from the next generation or people before me and my friends, I hope you guys are open to building a strong community with sports and volleyball. And I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Like, do you want to know what I changed in the lactation policy? Thank you, guys.
Department and city manager reports.
Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dr. Gornick, I might be able to answer some of your questions in regards to the dispatch center with my brief tonight.
Okay.
Today, NGA, which is the 911 portion of the project, successfully integrated with our phone lines. So we now have the capability of receiving 911 calls into the building. The servers are completely installed. We're still waiting on DOJ to sign off on our CLETS line. We anticipate final approval within the next few weeks. They had some questions. We were able to answer all their questions. We resubmitted it. And so waiting on the final sign off. Once the DOJ CLETS line gets signed off, we can start pulling over data from county. All of our drives over there were obviously taken internally. And then we can also start pulling over our data from Hanford, our records management system. Once that happens, the build out's done. Right now, we have started hiring dispatchers. We've gone through a couple recruitments. We've filled one internally, records tech Nichols. She passed background, so she will be one of our first dispatchers. We have 3 full-time dispatchers in background. We have 3 reserve dispatchers in background. Depending on how that plays out, they pass backgrounds, kind of dictates what we do next. We are going to fly the lead or the senior dispatcher position. Those are 2 lead dispatchers this week. In a perfect world, they get through the background process in a month, 5 weeks, and then we can start their training. Training takes anywhere from 4 to 5 months, but that puts us right at the beginning of the fiscal year. So if the stars line up, we get these people on board and trained up, we should be good to go. So bringing back to the budget, that $820 some odd thousand that we're going to pay Hanford and County IT next year, we shouldn't have to.
So where do you do most of your training?
So within the first year, because we're a post-recognized dispatch, they have to go to a dispatcher academy.
Okay.
So Kristen started hers yesterday. It's a month long, and then she's a little bit ahead of the game because she knows the record side of it. And
Is
some
that up
of
at Galt? Or
what's that?
Is that up at Galt or?
No, that's in Fresno.
Oh, okay.
Fresno runs 2 academies a year. It looks like we're probably going to be able to keep it all local.
That'd be good.
And then again, they don't have to have it until their year. So they will be staggered. But depending on their level of experience and what they come in at and what we have to train them on, really dictates how long it takes them to get through the training. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 months. But again, that puts us going live right there at the start of the next fiscal year. Should everything happen the way,
Well, yeah, if the stars line up, like you said. Yeah.
Well, again, DOJ's really been the last hang up, and I think we're good with that. That's all I have for you tonight.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And all I had was, I wanted to remind everybody that we have coffee and community tomorrow morning at the rec center at 8 a.m. for anyone interested in attending. And our new recreation manager and public works director should be starting work on Monday. So they will be present at the next city council meeting to be introduced to the community.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or a member of the public requests individual consideration. Item 4-1, approval minutes, regular meeting, January 21st, 2025. 4-2, approval right-of-way dedication, east side of 18 3/4 Avenue. 4-3, approval resolution 2025-04, authorizing the city manager to develop, implement, and revise administrative policies. 4-4, approval resolution 2025-05, in support of Kings County Farm Bureau in form of amicus, how do you say that word?
Curious.
Yeah, that one. Are there any items that council would like to pull?
I'd like to pull 4.3.
Anything else? Is there anything that the public would like to pull from the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve 4-1, 4-2, and 4-4.
Motion.
Second. I have a motion by Councilmember Lyons and a second by Councilmember Brewster. Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
Councilmember Brewster,
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Passes 5 in favor. 4-3. What was your?
I'm just, I would like to add to that, if you could pull it up, please. It's in the whereases, yeah. Either in the City Council believes that in the interest of efficiency and in line with their responsibilities, the city manager should have the sole authority to develop, implement, and revise administrative policies. I'd like to add in there that we be informed on an annual basis, either during your review or whatever, any changes that are made. That's
Any other
And-
questions or comments?
I don't know if I have to make a motion for what you do.
So is this, you want to change the resolution or you just want to add that?
I just want to add that to that or something along the lines of that paragraph, and maybe Christina could help us with that.
There can be a motion to approve with that amendment.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution with the amendment that I articulated.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gornick and a second by Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Gornick.
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yes.
Councilmember Brewster.
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. 5 in favor. Moving on to public hearings, 5-1, public hearing resolution 2025-06, accepting and adopting the local government plan and authorizing the city manager to execute the permanent local housing allocation program application and standard agreement if awarded. Ms. Bailey, is this yours? And I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing right now as well.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Craig Chu, and I'm with Self Help Enterprises, working in the Strategic Partnerships Department. Self Help Enterprises, for anyone who might not be aware, is, I wouldn't say we're small but mighty anymore. We have grown quite a lot in the past 60 years here in the Central Valley. Last year we celebrated our 60th anniversary. Self Help Enterprises is a nonprofit housing and community development organization that operates in the 9 counties throughout the Central Valley. So the city of Lemoore has an opportunity this year to capture funds from the California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, through the permanent local housing allocation. This is annual money that comes from annual real estate development fees At the end of each calendar year, HCD has this formula where they allocate funds to jurisdictions. And it can be used for eligible housing related activities. If you're listed in the staff report. So City of Lemoore has 3 years worth of funding that it can apply for a total of $456,596. So in order to apply for these funds, city has to submit an application to HCD with including a plan of how to spend these funds. So Self-Help Enterprises, we've been in contact with city staff here. It's decided the best use of these funds would be to provide an owner-occupied rehab program here in the city, which believe Self-Help, we've assisted the city with rehab program maybe back in the early 2000s. I think the city has had a few other smaller grants and funding available for rehab since then. But this is a larger amount of money. And so we are proposing to provide a owner-occupied housing rehab program to residents here in the city, which would be a 5-year forgivable loan to homeowners, eligible homeowners under 80% of 80 area median income. And a 5-year forgivable loan. So we will be submitting the application for these funds before the end of February. One of the requirements in order to be awarded for these funds is that city's housing element needs to be found in compliance by HCD. So I believe.
What was that again? Can you speak up a little? I didn't hear that last.
The city's housing element needs to be found in compliance with HCD by June 30th, I believe. So I think, from what I understand from city staff, is that the housing element, it's multi-jurisdictional. Corcoran, Kings County, and Avenal, I believe, fall under the same housing element. And I believe it's, from what I understand, it's pending further revisions. So we're hoping that that housing element gets brought up to compliance by June 30th. The June 30th date is important. If it's not in compliance by then, the calendar year 2021 funds will be lost, and HCD will turn them to a multifamily fund that they have. And that's the biggest pot available, 237,381. So we don't want to lose those funds to the state. We want to keep them here in the city of Lemoore to provide housing rehab. So yeah, I think that's all. That's kind of a quick summary of this. I'm available for questions.
Are you saying that we're out of compliance with the plan?
No, so we're doing a multi-jurisdictional housing element with Kings County, and it just has to be filed by June 30th. So it's not with us right now. It went back for revision, so we anticipate it being done by June 30th, but it's in partnership with the county and the other cities in the county.
Yeah, because we had a presentation. One of the, I forget who was on it. Was it you?
No.
One of the council members sat on that and brought it here, and it looked like we were in compliance. I didn't think we were out of compliance.
Yeah, it was that thing that had all the breakdown of pricing
And income level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we believe we're fine. We're just waiting for everybody else to finish their part so it can get submitted.
It's not completely on us.
Yeah.
There's other entities involved. Kind of like the GSAs, there's several included.
so, I mean, there was somebody else.
He said he couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Me
Oh.
or Mr. Gornick?
Both
My
of us.
apologies.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So what do we plan to do with the $456,000?
Yeah, those are going to be used to provide a housing rehab program, owner occupied rehab program here in the city. Most likely be geared towards seniors, veterans, as long as they fall under the 80% income level. It'll provide it'll address issues such as roof replacements, window replacements, HVAC repairs, essential plumbing and electrical repairs, accessibility improvements such as ramps and grab bars, and other other urgent and critical home repair needs.
Any other questions from council?
Hmm. Didn't we have something like this in our budget at one time?
Not since we've been on council, no.
So I just want to point out these PLHA funds are, this is a common use that cities use these funds for, is housing rehab. It's not costing the general fund anything. It's money that the city can receive. And if we don't use it for something, then we don't get it and it gets redistributed somewhere else. So there's really, and this is just my opinion, there's not a downside to moving forward with it. It's just a benefit to our community members.
So it's just for repair, it's not for new housing.
Correct, just for repairs and rehab.
Okay.
Are there any questions or comments from the public? Mr. Reed?
I'm Ray Lemoore. Just a quick question. What time frame were these funds available? In other words, is there a deadline? Thank you.
Right, so we'll be submitting the application at the end of February. That housing element, it's gonna hinge on that housing element being resubmitted to HCD. They need to make an award, they need to have that to make an award by June 30th. So at the latest, you know, if housing element is compliance, we're able to resubmit it. HCD is able to award those 2021 funds. Probably around mid-year, HCD will issue a standard agreement to the city to execute. And once that agreement is executed, you know, mid-year, midsummer would probably be the earliest that those funds would be available for this program.
And that would just be the year 3 funds? Does it go year to year or is it the lump sum?
It's year to year. And we can request the year 4 and the year 5 funds all at the same. They have to be requested separately, not as one lump, but we can submit the request for those. I believe all at the same time.
Why does the number drop so dramatically? Why does it go from 21?
That's something that we're curious about too. It just has to do with how HCD's formula works, and how they've, you know, the real estate transaction fees are kind of different for, I think they had funds from an additional pot, for the year 3. There was years 1 and 2 prior to this. So years 1, 2, and 3 had a larger pot where they're able to draw more funds into it in addition to the real estate transaction fees. But that pot decreased for year 4 and 5.
So it looks like we missed year 1 and 2 as well.
Correct. And the PLHA it's only been around for a few years. So it just wasn't on. We were trying to learn all the ins and outs of PLHA funds too when it first came out for year 1 and 2. And the kind of the focus on that was on bigger multifamily projects for those bigger pots of funds that were available earlier in the for years 1 and 2. Yeah, it just wasn't on the radar for us to look into the city of Lemoore's funds and until in the past few months.
So this is money that you're gonna administer for us?
Correct.
On behalf of our citizens?
Correct. So
Okay.
the city
So-
will receive,
So of the $456,000, about half of that we'll be able to use for rehab. Because you guys are going to use some of it for admin costs and for activity costs.
right, so 5% of each year will be used for admin costs.
Yeah, but how about the activity costs?
That'll be the rest of that. So the 95% of each year's funds will be used for rehab, for project expenses.
Those are not subject to the cap on administrative costs. Okay.
No. It's just the 5% comes out of each year's amount for admin, and then the rest all goes to activity.
Self-help's admin fees are typically pretty low, which is why most cities use them to administer the programs.
Hey, I was just going to say, this isn't something we couldn't apply for without self-help.
We don't have the staffing or the expertise to administer it.
What's the time frame that these funds have to be used by? Is there an expiration?
The standard agreements for PLHA are a little longer than a typical 3-year agreement for other funding sources. So PLHA, I believe, is a 5-year standard agreement. So. But I think we'll be able to spend the funds fairly quickly. We do field a good amount of calls from people in Lemoore in need of rehab because they hear about our programs. Unfortunately, we're not able to maintain a wait list for the people that call just because we don't have funding yet to spend in the city. So, but I think once we're able to get this program going, hit the ground with marketing, we'll be able to spend these funds fairly quickly.
So is that marketing part of your 5% administrative costs?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll be marketing it for us.
Typically, we would also have the information available on the city's website and then like flyers at the front window and all of that available for the public.
And when you're saying rehab, like what are some examples of rehab you guys have seen in the past?
Yeah, like roof repairs, roof replacements, repairing the siding, like I said, accessibility repairs, floor repair or replacement.
How about an air conditioner for senior citizens?
Yeah,
center?
that would fall under an eligible activity.
Who's your contractors? We got a lot of local
Yeah.
men and women who have their businesses, roofing, air conditioning. You use,
Yeah, we work with a lot of contractors. We have several project managers, rehab project managers that are familiar with many of the local contractors. But yeah, if you have any that you can forward on to us that we might want to be in touch with, and let us know, and yeah, we can add them to our database.
okay.
Just to cover, was there any other public comment? No, you're fine.
I guess several questions actually. Will this program is a program in addition to the current CDBG program? Number one. Number two,
I think that's what I was.
is this a 1-year thing? Because there's nothing for 2024. So is that money coming in the future? And then the last question, the way it's worded, if awarded, what would cause it not to be awarded?
I can answer those last two. I'm not quite sure about what's going on with the CBG funds here in the city. Yeah, the city, does the city have CDBG funds that are being?
Not currently.
Not for,
Okay.
we don't have CDBG funds available for housing rehab right now. So if we did, they would be separate. But we don't have the funds right now anyway. If we do in the future, they would be ran separate.
Yeah, so for the 2024 funds, HCD will release that amount towards the fall. It takes them kind of a long time to calculate the allocations for each jurisdiction throughout the state. So the funds that'll be available from the previous calendar year will be announced later in the fall. It'll be a little while before those are announced. And the only thing that would prevent the funds being awarded would be the housing element not being in compliant by June 30th, which would prevent an award of the 21 funds.
So we're reliant on our partner cities to be in compliant. And so if they're not compliant, then we're not.
Correct.
Do we know where they stand?
We believe that we're going to have it submitted before June 30th.
I know it's submitted, but I mean, we can be in compliant, the other cities.
We believe so, yes. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to
No,
be able
no,
to say for sure,
yeah.
but we believe so.
But I guess, so we're not competing for the same money, I guess is what I'm asking. The other question I'm asking is that could we be splitting this money, or will Avenel be wanting the same amount of money, or will?
No, they have their own calculation that HCD does for PLHA funds. So if we don't receive the 2021 because we are out of compliance, then HCD reallocates the 2021 fund. So we lose it, but it's not like we're competing with our neighboring cities for those same dollars. They
Okay.
have their own
So
allocation.
you take it separately. Yeah.
Yeah, this is your money already.
Yeah. So if we comply, we're okay. But if somebody else hasn't complied,
right. Well,
that wouldn't pull us out.
As far as housing element compliance goes, everyone, that whole element needs to be
We all have to be
compliance.
in
So
compliance.
we're tied with
Yes.
everybody.
For the housing element, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is not how every jurisdiction does it. A lot of cities do their own housing element.
Right.
I don't know the background of why Lemoore doesn't do that, but apparently we do a joint one with the county.
Right. Well, you know, I when I first read this, I had some reservations about. I don't like the way the state runs our housing business anyway. I think that's why our housing is so high, and so I'm really reluctant to. This is my opinion, to hitch our wagon to the state. So, but if it's for repair and replacement of existing homes and that our citizens might need, I have no problem with that.
Any other questions or comments from the public before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I just want to make sure that I reiterate that this is money that is allocated for us specifically. And if we choose not to accept it, then it just goes away. So just keep that in mind. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
What's your motion?
Are we
It's
approving
not
it?
on the screen. Motion to adopt resolution 2025-06.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
That's your motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second his motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Brewster and a second by Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Brewster,
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
All right.
and I vote aye as well. Passes 5 in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to new business, report and recommendation, Parks and Recreation Commission, Ms. Trejo.
Thank you. This item is on the agenda so that we can get direction from council on changes you would like to make to the ordinance pertaining to the Parks and Rec Commission so that we can draft some language changes to bring to you at a future meeting. I know that Councilman Brewster had expressed interest in having the commission meet monthly instead of every other month. And so we just need direction from the council if that's something you'd like to move forward with. And then I know in the past, there's also been discussions about requiring a certain number of volunteer hours from commission members. And so this is just open for council to state what you would like. And then once we have consensus for direction, we can draft some language to bring back at a future meeting.
Yeah, so I would say once a month, so 12 times a year. I don't remember, I wrote it down on another notepad, what ordinance it was in that. But just amending that one ordinance for me, I think it would be taken more seriously and we'd have more participation and people feel more involved, and getting the gap between youth sports, recreation, adult recreation in the city. I think that would help with that right there. So.
I agree with what you're saying, and I see the value in that. And maybe there's not always something on an agenda for a meeting,
Yeah.
but I think just getting the commission together and having dialogue and discussion on maybe future ideas or
What other cities are doing.
anything really coming up would be beneficial. So.
And if we could, obviously a big talk is all youth sports and all that stuff, but getting when I was on the commission, there was a lot of push for a pickleball court and all this other stuff. But one thing I would like to try and do is get more involvement from the youth sports organizations and getting them here, talking to each other, talking to us, talking to the commissioners. So we don't have the people coming for public comment. Well, baseball's hitting baseball, baseball's at soccer, soccer's taking this, just to avoid all that. I think it's just literally the lack of communication
Can't
amongst.
get any time in a swimming pool.
Yeah, right. All right. So, just because I have people that are interested, but they're like, is it a waste of time? And I'm like, well, we're trying to fix that. So, and like what we talked about when you interviewed me for it, requiring the commissioners to do some stuff besides what they're already doing. But yeah, I think it'd be taken more serious if we had them meet more and all that good stuff.
My heart behind the volunteer hours is for somebody to sit on the commission and to make decisions or suggestions on what should or shouldn't happen. They should really be involved. And what better way to know what's happening with our rec department than to be volunteering and seeing firsthand what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, where we can improve, listening to the public and what their needs are. So I think that would be beneficial as well. So that's why I had suggested that.
Do we, and maybe it's in here, but do we have any expectations of the commissioners or what, in terms of, they're not setting policy, they're just making recommendations? Do we have that?
There's just duties of the chair, duties of the vice chair, and duties of the community service director and staff.
But I think that, one of the ways we frustrate people on commissions and committees is we need to say what your boundaries are,
The scope.
Recommendations would go where? To the planning commission, to the, I don't know where, so, that would be helpful to do that. Yeah, the other thing that I think, I really like this idea, particularly dealing with parks, because one of my pet peeves is pocket parks. And so if we could get the park committee focusing on also our housing plans in terms of what we want to talk to developers about, in terms of, or purchasing land near a development that it would be a significant park, not just a pocket park kind of thing. I think that's a good idea.
Does the rest of the commission feel the same way?
There's a big turnover currently in the
So how many
commission.
people are currently on?
We have 3 seats that are up right now, and then we have Mr. Brewster vacated his seat as he became a council member. So we have 4 seats available.
Well, why did you quit?
He had to.
You want to know really why? Because
there's
I was
nothing
on
wrong with-
commission for 6 months and we met twice.
Mhm.
And I felt like I could do nothing. So
So
I
who
got
else-
frustrated and I ran for city council.
Who else is currently on the commission?
I don't even know.
The gentleman that sat next to you, I'm not sure what his name is.
It's not Michael. Michael is yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But you know, if you can convene all the groups that you'd mentioned, I think that would be if not, at least get a rep from each of those.
Oh, you could fill,
Yeah,
you could fill
exactly.
this
You'd have to
room.
go to a bigger venue, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, it would be, it could be really helpful to them.
Well, it doesn't sound like we're gonna hurt it, that's for sure.
I think with the consistent meetings that you'd get more participation too of the public or some of those organizations as well.
And
Yeah.
if we gave them some resources too, you know, in terms of, you know, what the expectation is that we would like this. You know, are we gonna be planning parks for the city, or are we gonna be planning parks for the city, or are we working collaboratively with our housing, our development stuff, or, you know, that kind of, so they actually know what they're gonna do and what their needs are. You know, I shudder sometimes about the Little League field. They're right on 18th Avenue in Iona, you know, I mean, oh my gosh, you know, that's a,
Stop, Frank.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a,
So what I have is you'd like us to bring back some language for them to meet monthly and then some duties.
And volunteer hours.
expectations of what, and who they report to, you know, it's not just so they know who to yell at when Brewster over there when
Do you have a specific number of volunteer hours, or would you like me to just come up with a suggestion and you guys can determine if it's appropriate or not?
I can throw a number out there. I don't know if anybody would like to challenge the
what do you
number.
mean by volunteer hour? Like the number of times they meet in the committee, or?
Including the committee. So the time that they spend at the committee, any events that they volunteer at, scorekeeping,
Gotcha.
that type of stuff.
What are
Is
you
there-
thinking? Just out of curiosity.
My suggestion would have been like 8 hours a month.
Oh.
And that includes their meeting time. So if they meet for 2 hours, they have 6 other hours to do for the month. And that could be a variety of things, helping in rec. It could be filling Easter eggs for the Easter egg hunt, scorekeeping, reffing, coaching a team.
Now, my
Helping
question
at
to that is,
community
does it have
events.
to be a rec team, or could it be a team in this, like, a little league team or youth football or something like that?
That would be up to you guys. That would just be hard to verify.
Yeah, I
So
think
if
should
it
be
was,
anybody really, I mean, look at those two kids that came with the volleyball thing, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, one of them might jump on to be on this thing, you never know. I mean, I think it's a good avenue for individuals who want to help.
If you're wanting it at rec, I'd say 4 hours.
So the meeting's like 2 hours long. That's only leaving 2 hours left.
Everybody can do what you do.
You barely had 2 meetings in the last 6 months.
We're trying to change that, sir.
I would say start out with 4. You don't want to scare them away. Because if you tell them, oh, I need you to be here for 8 hours, you know, so now for me to be an active participant, volunteering my time already, you want me to be down there more than what I'm already doing? On top of coaching baseball or football or something else?
Remember, you're not on the commission anymore.
I'm just saying. I was supposed to have baseball practice today and I had to cancel it.
Can we take a poll of the audience? If you were asked to volunteer, would you think it would be an incentive that you require to do additional volunteer hours to sitting on the committee, or would it make a difference? How many of you think it would make a difference that you wouldn't attend? Wouldn't want to volunteer?
By
My
what?
people.
Raise a hand or what?
Yeah, raise your hand if you wouldn't volunteer if you had to do additional volunteer. How many of you would volunteer? Now, I'm not going to pick you if you raise your hand.
I think you're selling our community short a little bit. We have a lot of volunteerism in our community. There's supervisors and council members from other cities that even mention how much volunteerism Lemoore has, and they're a little bit jealous of it. Maybe 8 hours is
Well, I'm not
not
calling it
enough.
short. I'm agreeing with you, though. I think most people who decide to do a commission or whatever, they're already doing something else in the
Mhm.
community. You know, that's all.
Then that would
Oh, look, you got some.
We got 8 hours. We got 8 hours. What do you got? What do
They-
you
they
There's
woke up.
second.
got? 10? How about 6? No. What were you gonna say, sir? There you go. Okay.
All right, so you got overruled, Brewster, by the audience.
Alex, what were
That's
you gonna
fine.
say?
I put
You don't
in
have to
five.
come to the podium. Matt.
He follows the rules.
I follow the Brown Act. No, but like I am responsive to what our city manager shared. I think 8 hours is reasonable because ultimately what has to happen is it needs to be responsive to what's actually happening in reality. If there's not events happening, I think it would be difficult to fill those hours. So as long as whatever number is set is based in what's actually occurring in the city, I think that's a reasonable standard. I'm a Rotarian, so I'm a little biased. So I encourage volunteerism because you have to have skin in the game, and then I am definitely in support as a private citizen of creating more regular attendance and frequency of these meetings, not just for the public to be able to participate, because it's a privilege to be able to be here right now. Not everyone can, and by providing those additional opportunities for workshops, community engagement, I think that brings a true value to the city.
Thank you, sir.
Good, good.
And thank you for agreeing with me. Just kidding. Any other, that was a joke. Any other comments? Questions, concerns? Anybody want to raise the 8 hours? Just kidding.
Sounds good.
Do we have consensus on that?
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to City Council reports and requests. Councilmember Brewster.
Let's see. It's been a very busy week for the county, our last 2 weeks. And we had our first ever Amber Alert out of Kings County.
Yeah.
That was a very, very sad incident. Condolences go out to the family. We worked almost 30 straight hours on that case. We had help from every acronym in the United States, including pretty much all local agencies. Also, Fire Captain Eads from Kings County passed away on Saturday night. I had the honor of leading the procession back from Coalinga, and the fire department. You guys were on 19th, right?
Yeah.
And
in the procession.
Yeah, they had 2 fire engines in the procession. Procession was at 12:30 at night or 12:30 in the morning. The fire guys did a real good job. I actually got a little video of the flag. They had the flag up for them. We had fire engines on every overpass between I-5 and 12th Avenue on 198. So condolences go out to him. Kenny Jones passed away. Condolences out to their family. Didn't know about that one. Speaking of Little League Baseball, we are in full swing. And the board has told me to ask Marissa, our lovely new city manager, to throw out the first pitch.
Right. What time? What time is that going to be?
So that's going to be March 8th at 9 a.m. And if I get my way, our helicopter is going to drop the ball to you on the baseball field.
Wear a helmet.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, we're.
But besides that, that's what we had going on.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yeah, March 8th. I'm pretty okay.
Got to put that in your calendar.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to mess her name up. It was CJ Natalie, was it, with the volleyball field or court?
Yes.
So, yeah, good job to CJ and Natalie. And yeah, condolences to the Jones family. I'm just, and Mark Eads and his family. I wanted to thank Dan Bocci, and I'm doing it again, for his presentation on the golf course. And I talked with Bobby Wharton from the Aging and Commission tomorrow at the food bank in Armona. They will be handing out food items, and there will be a mobile unit from Adventist Health. We'll be doing health work for seniors. That is tomorrow at at the Armona Food Bank.
Do you know what time?
Yeah, oh, it's gonna start at 9 and they will be there until they either pass everything out. And I'm assuming the mobile unit will be there after that even. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Cruz?
I don't have anything to report
Your,
this
your
week,
mic's
but
off. On the bottom.
It's right there.
There you go.
yeah. So I don't really have anything to report, but I do want to commend Ms. Valdez on that tremendous job on that workshop. Very well detailed. So thank you for doing that.
Mr. Gornick?
I would also like to say great job on the budget. Appreciated that. And city manager, thank you for arranging for that and the upcoming ones. Yeah, at a future date, certainly not right away, but I would like to have a discussion or a study session on our housing development, our procedure in terms of how we work with developers and keeping the consistency of our design and our standards, you know, in between developments, you know, sidewalks, landscaping, you know, that kind of stuff. So we don't look all chopped up along the way. So be helpful. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I attended the King's Waste and Recycling Authority meeting. They selected we selected Mark Kyrus as the chair and Supervisor Robert Thayer as the vice chair. Also attended the KCAG meeting. I took over personnel and finance committees that Mr. Orth previously held. And I was also selected as the alternate for California Councils of Government. In that meeting, they also talked about the roundabouts on 41 Bush Bellhaven area, that the permit should have been issued in January. Not sure if that actually came into fruition or not, but that was the plan. Kings County Area Public Transit Authority, or KCAPTA. The new CART Transit Center construction project is experiencing a little bit of delays. There were some unknown issues that were discovered during construction that have made a little hiccup, but they're moving forward on those. The South San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Citizen Advisory Committee did not meet this month. They did not have a quorum, so I did not attend that. I did attend last Friday in Tulare, the district swearing in of Assemblywoman Alexandra Macedo. It was very well attended, standing room only. And then also the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting I attended in Sacramento with the League of Cities. The things that they're focused on are affordable housing and homelessness, local control and land use, and economic development and sustainability. So their work plan priorities are strengthening local control and land use, addressing affordable housing and homelessness, supporting economic development and resilience. One of the things that they were talking about was the housing element audit is currently happening. And by the end of the session, it was stated that local control, when you're talking to state elected officials, is like a 4-letter word, which I strongly disagreed with. But they did change the wording instead of local control to say ensure cities have the flexibility and decision-making authority. I don't know what state local officials they normally talk to, but our local state officials aren't offended by that term. They understand that the state has overreached in a lot of areas, and we need to preserve local city and county control. So apparently the consensus was to soften that language, even though there were several of us that disagreed, but that's where we landed. So I also want to thank Jocelyn for your budget presentation. I'm looking forward to the other ones as well. Thank you to police and fire for all that you guys do for our community. Also thank all the young people that we've had recently that have been to council meetings, showing up in the community, making a difference. It's kind of it's just a different feel right now having young people engaged and showing up. So it's great to see, and I hope we see more of it. And I just want to tell everybody, please be safe on the drive home. It sounded like it was raining pretty good, so make sure you get home safely. And with that, we will go to closed session. We have item 1, Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiator, Agency Designated Representatives, Christina D. Smith, City Attorney, and Marissa Trejo, City Manager. Employee Organizations, Lemoore Police Officers Association, Lemoore Police Sergeants Unit. Item number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9, Conference with Legal Counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of Section 54956.9, one case. So with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn into closed session.